May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O God, our strength and Redeemer. Amen.
Now listen, Jesus. Really? Today? Saturday the Sabbath? For God's sake, how did you think that this would go well for you? How would it go well for us, your disciples, your colleagues in ministry? We followed you into the synagogue. We saw you as you saw the man with the withered hand. We could feel the wheels in motion in your head and your heart. And then we watched you move quickly to approach him. We feared the worst, and that's what happened. You healed him on the Sabbath. By itself, that's not a bad thing. Some people are out to get you, and you know that.
My dear friends, my companions in ministry, you have to believe that I have the big picture in mind. I have to listen to my Father as well as the wants and needs of the entire ministry. It is in the listening and the big picture where I find the strength and maybe wisdom to make what I believe are the best decisions. Sometimes those decisions are not going to be popular. Sometimes those decisions just might counter what you think is the right path. I'm sure you would have recommended that I not heal the man with the withered hand. I'm sure you would have recommended that I lay low, keep a non-controversial profile, and keep cool. Ministry for the good of the whole is not about keeping cool or keeping a low, non-controversial profile. It is about moving the community forward. Trust me to listen and to pay attention to the Spirit and the big picture so that we can move forward. During this season of Pentecost, the longest season of the liturgical year, we pay attention to the Spirit of God working in and through us as individuals and as a community of faith. Jesus and the Father were knit together through the power of the Spirit. That same Spirit, a non-tangible quality of God, enabled Jesus to be one with his Father and enables us to experience God in an instance. Here's an example. This past Wednesday was a rather complicated day for us. In the morning, we celebrated the life of Richard Grover, the husband of beloved parishioner Carolyn Grover. After the celebration of life, we had a lovely lunch, and many people stayed to celebrate Richard's life. On my agenda for the afternoon and prior to the Spring Wednesday event, I had two people I wanted to visit in hospitals, Butterworth Hospital and Meyer Heart Center. And by the way, in our history, St. Mark's founded the Butterworth Hospital. The Butterworth patient was a parishioner. The Heart Center patient was a request made by family members who worshiped with us last Sunday. The handwritten request was given to me on a piece of paper following the 10:30 service, and I can't even remember who gave me that piece of paper. About mid-afternoon on Wednesday, I walked up the hill to Michigan Avenue just before the rain hit. I went first to Butterworth and then to the Heart Center. At the Heart Center, I was a bit anxious as I didn't know what to expect. I only knew that the woman I was to visit was to have heart surgery on Thursday and that the family had requested a visit and prayer. Just before getting on the elevator in the Heart Center, a little boy about 4 years old was there with an older woman. The three of us got on the elevator together. He, Jack was his name, asked me which floor so he could push the button for me. To their surprise, and perhaps to mine as well, we were all going to the same floor. I was in what I call dress blacks, which means a black wool suit, which is very warm, and a high Anglican collar. With eyes wide open, the woman made the connection as to the request from the previous Sunday and my appearance at the Heart Center. She could hardly have been more appreciative. Getting off the elevator together, Jack grabbed my left hand with his right hand and with enthusiasm led me to his mother's hospital room. My encounter with Jack and his grandmother enabled me to feel a sense of warmth as well as appreciation. At the conclusion of my visit in the hospital room, I asked all of us to hold hands around the bed, and we prayed together, and then I made a sign of the cross. Upon leaving the hospital room, I distinctly remember a feeling that God had somehow been very present in Jack's little hand and in his and his grandmother's smile and warm hearts. For me, those expressions, coupled with the warm reception at the bedside, were a gift of the Holy Spirit and were greatly appreciated. There was much grace. Perhaps Jesus felt the grace of the Spirit when he entered the synagogue and saw the man with the withered hand. Perhaps Jesus experienced grace which opened his mind and his heart to do what he believed was the right thing on the Sabbath. Perhaps you and I have had experiences of the Spirit of God and haven't made time to reflect on them, to be more aware of their implications, and or to take a moment of thanks to give God praise for God's presence in our lives. You see, I believe that God is present even in those little encounters in life without us realizing it. Through the power of the Holy Spirit, God tends us even when we least expect it. When we embrace the Spirit of God in us, around us, and through us, then the Spirit can be a captivating and motivating force of grace readily ours. When we cooperate with God's Spirit, the grace of that Spirit, wonderful things just might happen. Anxiety might be less. Patience might increase. Misdirected anger might diminish. Love for one another just might be more possible. When we embrace the power of the Spirit of God, no matter what the circumstance, the grace of the Spirit can be experienced and celebrated. Jack's mother believed that in her whole being, in that grace, especially when we talked about that grace working through the hands and hearts of the doctors, nurses, and aides who would be tending her the next day. She also spoke about her love for the devotional book which we have on our tables, Our Daily Bread. And her copy ran out on Wednesday, and I wish I had had a Thursday copy for her. So please feel free to take one of these great books. They mean a lot to her. She believed that no matter what, God was with her and would be with her no matter the outcome of the surgery. It was very powerful. Do we believe that God is truly with us? Do we believe that God's Spirit envelops us in the love of Jesus, which can transform us if we let it? May we experience the grace of the Spirit. May we embrace that grace which binds us to the love of God in Jesus and which can enable us to go forth into the world to make a difference. Amen.